So we are done with the arithmetic operators and relational operators, right? Then we had one question. What if you have two relational operators and which will result in true or false, right? And then you want to combine them. So you want one true or false out of two or three true or false. So what I'm saying is, let's say I have two variables here, which is x, y, and also we have one more combination, which is a and b. And then I want to check if, I want x to be less than y, and I want a to be greater than b. This might result in true and false, or it might result in true and false. What I want is the output of I want output of this two combined can be either true or false, but I want the combined output, irrespective if they are true or false individually. So how do I combine this? Now to combine these two different conditions, we can use a logical operator in between. Example, this logical operator can be and, or, and the second option is or. So it can be and or. Now what exactly it means? See, if you want that your output to be true, so let's say if you want your output to be true, so you can say, hey, I want both of this to be true, then only I want true. Or you can say, if any of this can be true, I want it to be true. Now this is very important in terms of computation. So when you say your computer is smart, it's because of a computer can decide based on multiple conditions. So to do that, we use something called a logical operators. So what we do is, again, this concept is coming from mathematics, is not a programming concept, it is coming from mathematics, where you can use something called AND operator, we can use OR operator, or we can use a NOT operator, which is with exclamation. So the AND operator in programming, we represent that with the help of and the OR operator, so we use ampersand for and we use a pipe for OR. So we can use ampersand, which is and, we can use pipe operator, which is or we can use the exclamation mark for not. Okay, so how do we decide what could be the output of two operations? So let's say the first operation gives you true, the second operation also gives you true. So maybe we can do that with the help of these two conditions. If both are true, then what should be the output? So the output will be true. Again, I'm talking about in terms of AND operation. If one is true, one is false, it is false. If one is false, the first one is false, second is true, again it is false. And if you have both of them as false, again it will give you false. Now when you want such type of output, if both are true, then only it should be true, then we can use something called an AND operation here. But what if you have a different set of things in your mind? Let me just divide this, and the second set would be, let's say, if the first one is true and second one is also true, you will get true. If the second one is true, the first one is true, second one is false, it will give you true. If the first one is false, second is true, it will give you true. And if both are false, it will give you false. If you have a condition or if you have a requirement where if any of them is true, then it should be true. So example, if you can see, if any of one, so of course both are true, that's great. But even if you have one true, that's true. Even if you have one true, that's true. Even if you have one true, that's true, right? But if you have both false, then it will be false. Now, if you compare it with this and, when you have both true, it will give you true. If any of them is false, you can see that if there's a false, you will get a false here. So this is your and or. So that's how you can combine. We have one more here, which is not. Now, not basically used to reverse the thing. Example, if you have true, and if you want the output to be false, and if you have false, and if the output you want is true, then you will apply a not operation. Now, apart from this, we have one more which we have not talked about, which is XOR. Again, we'll talk about that in some time. But then we have three basic operations here. We have and, or, and not. So basically how you combine this, if you want to do that in programming, of course, you can also use AND operator or pipe, or you can use not directly. The other option you have is something called a short circuit. So instead of using AND, you can use double AND. Instead of using OR, you can use double OR. And not is as it is, we don't have to do nots there. Now what's the use of this? So first of all, let's talk about AND. So let's say if you have x is greater than y, and if you say AND here, and you can say A is less than B. So we have these two conditions here, and I want both them to be true, and that's where you want the output to be true. So example, if you have a Boolean value which is R here, so you can say R is equal to X is greater than Y and A is greater than B. If in this case, if both are true, the output is going to be true, right? But what if you use OR here? So if I remove this and if I put up OR here, if any of them is true, it will give you true. As simple as that, okay? Now, why do we call it a short circuit? The reason is, let's talk about OR. In OR, see, the point is, even if you have one true, the output would be true, right? So if the first condition itself is true, it will not even check for the second one. Beauty, right? I mean, you're saving your time. That's why it's called short circuit. You are saving the time. You're taking a shortcut. And you will say, hey, then what happens when you have AND here? So let's me put AND. Now in this case, even if, so let's say first one is true, of course it will check for the second one. But what if the first one is false? If the first one is false, it will not even check for the second one because the output is going to be false, right? So that is why it is called short circuit. Okay, so from this point, we are always going to use short circuits and an OR instead of using a single ampersand. So it can be, you can say double ampersand for AND, double pipe for OR, and of course not will remain not. So example, let's say if you already have a Boolean value which is R, so I can say R, and if you want to save that value in S, so whatever value of R you will get, you will save that in S. Example, if R is T, S will be T. But what if you put a ampersand here? But what if you put a exclamation here? So in this case, if this is true, if R is true, it will give you false. It will give you a reverse value. And this is very beneficial when you start working with the project where you have a data, and if you want to do something related to that data. So based on the data, you will change you will do something, you will change the condition, all those stuff. Okay, this thing looks cool here, but how will you implement this in the actual code? That's what we're going to see now. So if you can see, of course I have to go with the same variables. I can say int x is equal to, let's say 7. And in fact, yeah, let's do it on new line. And I will say int y is equal to 5. So we got these two values. And then apart from this, I want two more variables, let's say a and b. So I will say int a is equal to 5 again, and int b is equal to 9. I'm just getting random numbers here. And what I want to do is, I want to save the data in a Boolean variable. So I will say Boolean result. And let's see what the value you're getting. So first I will declare it here, and I will also print the value for this. Okay, so basically we are trying to print result here, but then I want to perform some operation on this. So I can say, if x is greater than y, okay, I'm just checking for one thing. And now we have done this multiple times. I will just compile this code and run, and you can see we got true because the value of x, which is 7, is greater than the value of y, which is 5. But then I want to put one more condition here, and I want both them to be true if I want to get the output as true. So what you can do is you can use ampersand, double ampersand here, and you can say a is greater than b. Now if you can see, the first condition is true, okay, this will give you true, but the second one, the second operation here will give you false. Now what do you think is the output? Think about this and let's see. Now the output which I'm expecting here is false. Let's try, and yeah, we got false. It's because the first one is false. So the first one is true, second one is false. So in this case, you both need to be true. Example, if I make this as less than, of course, you should not change your condition, you should change your values, but just we are learning, right? So it's fine. Now let's compile this code and run, and you can see we got true. Since both are true, it's true. But what if you use a pipe here? Now pipe simply means OR, right? So even if so let's say both the conditions are true now, and both the operations are true. Run, and you can see we got true. But what if, let me make the first one as false, right? So you can see we have 7 is greater than 5, so this will be false. But the second one is true, right? But still, if you compile this and run, and you can see we got true, right? So this is how you use AND and OR when you have multiple relation. Of course, you can add more. You can also add one more pipe here by saying the value of A should be greater than 1. That's your choice, how many pipes you want to add. Compile and run, and you can see it works. So this is how you use and or. What about not operator here? So example, let's say I will only say A is greater than B. Now what do you think what the output is? So if I compile this code and run, and you can see we got false. That makes sense, right? Because the value of A is smaller than value of B. But what happens just before printing result? I'm saying not. So whatever value of result is, we are just doing the opposite of it. If this is true, it will give you false. If it is false, it will give you true. And if I compile and run, you can see we got true. It's because this was false, the earlier one's false, and now when I say exclamation result, it will give you true. So as I mentioned before, it's very important once we go forward towards conditions, if else, for loops. So there's multiple conditions or multiple operations which will result in true or false will be very helpful. Now, apart from this, we have one more which we're going to discuss in the next video.